The first message Maya ever sent Ethan after learning the truth was only 3 words long. "Don't tell Ashley." She stared at the blinking cursor for almost 5 minutes before pressing send. Her hands trembled so badly that she nearly dropped her phone onto the bedroom floor. A second later, the typing indicator appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, his reply came. "You already knew." Maya closed her eyes. A single tear escaped before she could stop it. Yes, she had known for 3 months. 3 long months of carrying a secret that grew heavier every single day. 3 months of pretending everything was normal while watching her older sister plan a future that was quietly falling apart. 3 months of listening to Ethan pour his heart out every night, never realizing that the girl who understood him best was the younger sister of the woman he wanted to leave. And now, everything had finally exploded. 6 months earlier, none of them could have imagined how their lives would collide. 19-year-old Maya Brooks had always lived in someone else's shadow, not because her parents loved her less, not because anyone treated her badly. It was simply impossible to stand beside Ashley Brooks without disappearing. Ashley was 24, confident, beautiful. The kind of woman who walked into a room and somehow made everyone smile before she'd even spoken. She had graduated at the top of her class, landed a marketing job that paid well, and somehow still found time to volunteer at an animal shelter on weekends. Neighbors adored her. Their parents couldn't stop bragging about her. Even Maya admired her. If someone had asked Maya who her hero was, she wouldn't have hesitated. Ashley. That answer had never changed. Growing up, Ashley had braided Maya's hair before school. She had defended her from playground bullies. She had stayed awake all night helping Maya prepare for exams. Whenever Maya cried, Ashley somehow knew exactly what to say. "You don't have to be like me," she'd always whisper while hugging her little sister. "You only have to be yourself." Those words stayed with Maya long after Ashley left for college. Even now, they echoed in her mind whenever she doubted herself. Maybe that was why what happened next hurt so much, because the last person Maya ever wanted to betray was the sister who had spent her whole life protecting her. Unlike Ashley, Maya was quiet. Books felt safer than parties. Sketchbooks understood her better than crowds. While Ashley collected friends effortlessly, Maya collected stories. She loved old novels, rainy afternoons, playlists filled with piano music, and online forums where people discussed everything from astronomy to heartbreak. There, nobody cared what you looked like. Nobody judged your awkward pauses. Words mattered more than appearances. That was where she met someone called Northern Lights. He was funny without trying, kind without pretending. He noticed little things other people ignored. When Maya mentioned once that thunderstorms helped her sleep, he remembered weeks later. When she confessed she felt invisible in real life, he replied, "Invisible people usually notice the most beautiful things." She smiled at that message for days. Neither of them exchanged photos. Neither asked for real names. It wasn't a rule. It just happened. Somehow, it made their friendship feel honest. Free. Every evening around 9, one of them would send the first message. Sometimes they debated movies. Sometimes they argued about books. Sometimes they sat online saying almost nothing at all. Yet silence with him never felt empty. It felt understood. One Saturday afternoon, Ashley burst into Maya's room carrying 2 shopping bags and far too much excitement. "Maya," she laughed, "you have to help me pick an outfit." Maya looked up from her sketchbook. "For what?" Ashley grinned. "Ethan's taking me to meet some of his work friends tonight." There was that smile again, the smile Ashley only wore when she talked about her boyfriend. Maya had heard plenty about Ethan. Apparently he was thoughtful, patient, the kind of boyfriend who always remembered birthdays. He sent flowers for no reason. He made Ashley laugh after stressful days. From everything Maya knew, he sounded perfect. Ashley dropped onto the bed dramatically. "I think he's the one." Maya smiled. "I hope so." She meant it. She genuinely did. That evening, Ashley left wearing a soft emerald green dress. Before walking out, she spun around. "Too much?" "You look beautiful." Ashley rushed back just to hug her. "I don't say this enough," Ashley whispered. "I don't know what I'd do without you." Maya hugged her tighter. Neither sister realized those simple words would soon become unbearably painful. Later that night, after finishing a chapter of her latest novel, Maya's phone buzzed. Northern Lights. "Worst date ever." She laughed softly. Tell me everything. His reply came almost instantly. Have you ever cared about someone so much that admitting you're unhappy feels like betraying them? Maya frowned. What happened? There was a long pause. Then, she's wonderful. I just don't think we're right for each other anymore. Maya sat upright. Her heart tightened unexpectedly. She had never heard him sound so defeated. Does she know? Maya typed. No. I keep trying to convince myself it'll get better. But every day I feel guiltier. For nearly 2 hours, Maya listened as her closest online friend poured out feelings he'd been hiding for months. He spoke about growing apart from his girlfriend, about pretending everything was okay, about smiling when he felt empty, about fearing that ending the relationship would destroy someone he genuinely cared about. Maya never asked who the girl was. It wasn't her place. She simply encouraged him to be honest. No one deserves to be loved out of guilt, she finally wrote. His reply appeared seconds later. You're the only person who's ever understood that. Maya smiled sadly. She wished whoever his girlfriend was would somehow find happiness too. She had no idea that she had just spent 2 hours comforting her own sister's boyfriend. The truth arrived 5 days later. It happened by accident. Ashley had forgotten her laptop before leaving for work. Maya! She shouted from downstairs. Can you bring my laptop? Ethan's outside waiting. Maya hurried down the stairs with the laptop tucked under one arm. A silver sedan waited by the curb. Ashley stood beside it, laughing at something her boyfriend had just said. As Maya stepped outside, the young man turned toward her. For a split second, time stopped. His face, his voice, the tiny constellation tattoo near his wrist that he'd once jokingly described during an online conversation, the leather bracelet he'd mentioned buying during a vacation with his father, his gentle smile. Everything clicked together at once. Ethan looked equally confused. His eyes widened ever so slightly as Maya instinctively tightened her grip on the laptop. Ashley smiled brightly, completely unaware. Maya, this is Ethan. Ethan swallowed. Hi. Maya forced herself to breathe. Hi. Ashley laughed. You two look like you've seen a ghost. Neither of them answered, because in that silent, unbearable moment, they had. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. For the rest of that morning, Maya moved through the house like someone trapped inside a dream she couldn't wake up from. She washed dishes she didn't remember using, folded laundry she had already folded once, opened the refrigerator only to stare blankly inside before closing it again. Every few minutes, her phone lit up. She ignored it. She already knew who it was. Ashley had left with Ethan, completely oblivious to the earthquake that had just shaken both their worlds. Maya wished she could be just as unaware. Finally, around noon, she picked up her phone. There were 7 unread messages. Every single one was from Northern Lights. The last message read, "Please, say something." Maya stared at the words until they blurred. Then she replied, "I know who you are." Almost immediately, he answered, "Can we talk?" "No." "Please." "No." A full minute passed before another message appeared. "I never meant for this to happen." Maya's fingers hovered over the keyboard. "Neither did I." She turned off her phone. For the first time in months, 9 o'clock came and went without them speaking. The silence hurt more than she expected. The next few weeks became an exhausting performance. Ashley remained exactly the same, cheerful, affectionate, and hopelessly in love. She talked about Ethan over breakfast. She showed Maya funny selfies they'd taken after dinner dates. She laughed while describing the ridiculous movie they had watched together. "You know what's funny?" Ashley said one evening while chopping vegetables. "He's always on his phone around 9, every single night." Maya nearly dropped the bowl she was holding. "I asked him once who he was talking to." Ashley smiled. "He said it was just an online friend who liked books as much as he did." Maya forced a laugh that sounded painfully unnatural. "Oh." Ashley shrugged. "I've never been jealous. Everyone deserves friends." The guilt that settled in Maya's chest felt almost unbearable. Ashley trusted him completely, and she trusted Maya even more. Meanwhile, Ethan couldn't stop thinking about the girl behind the screen. Now, he knew her name. Maya, the quiet younger sister who barely spoke whenever he visited Ashley. The shy girl who always slipped away after politely saying hello. It made no sense. Online, she was fearless. She challenged his opinions. She made him laugh until 2 in the morning. She noticed when something was wrong before he admitted it himself. In person, she avoided eye contact, hardly spoke, and looked as though she wished she could disappear. He finally understood why. Every conversation they'd shared now carried a painful new meaning. One rainy Tuesday evening, Ashley invited Ethan over for dinner. Maya considered pretending to be sick. Instead, she sat quietly at the dining table, hoping the meal would end quickly. The rain tapped softly against the windows. The warm glow of the dining room lights made the house feel cozy. Ashley filled everyone's plates before taking her seat beside Ethan. "So," she said happily, "Mom called today." "Oh?" Ethan smiled politely. "She keeps asking when you're finally coming to one of our family gatherings." He chuckled. "I'll come, I promise." Ashley reached for his hand. "I think she'd love you." Across the table, Maya lowered her eyes. She couldn't bear watching them, not because she wanted Ethan, because she suddenly realized how deeply Ashley loved him. It wasn't a casual relationship. Ashley was already imagining a future, a family, a life together. Maya silently excused herself before dessert. No one stopped her. That night, her phone buzzed again. This time, she answered. "One conversation," she typed. "That's all." His reply came almost instantly. "Thank you." Neither of them knew where to begin. Finally, Ethan wrote, "I owe you an apology." "For what?" "For making your life complicated." Maya stared at the screen. "You didn't." "Yes, I did. If I'd known you were Ashley's sister." "You would have stopped talking to me?" There was a long pause. Then, "I honestly don't know." That answer hurt because it was honest. She appreciated honesty, even when it broke her heart. "You should tell Ashley how you feel." Maya replied, "I can't." "Why?" "Because she's done nothing wrong." "Exactly. That's why she deserves the truth." Minutes passed. Finally, Ethan admitted something he'd never said aloud. "I'm terrified she'll think every smile was fake." "It wasn't," Maya answered. "You loved her once." "Yes. People change. Feelings change. Lying about it won't stop that." He read the message. He didn't respond, because deep down, he knew she was right. The following Saturday, Ashley convinced Maya to go with her to a neighborhood charity fair. "You spend too much time indoors," Ashley teased. "The sun remembers you exist." Maya rolled her eyes. "It definitely doesn't." They laughed together as they walked through rows of colorful tents. Children ran past with balloons. Local musicians filled the air with cheerful acoustic songs. The smell of fresh pastries drifted through the crowd. For a little while, things almost felt normal. Then Ashley spotted Ethan across the park. "There he is!" She grabbed Maya's wrist without thinking. "Come on!" Before Maya could protest, she found herself standing beside him. Ethan smiled awkwardly. Ashley wrapped an arm around his waist. "Maya, stay with Ethan for a second. I'm going to grab us lemonade." She disappeared into the crowd. Silence settled between them. Neither knew where to look. Finally, Ethan spoke. "You've been avoiding me." "You noticed." "I notice everything about you." The words slipped out before he could stop them. Maya's eyes widened. "So that's why we're in this mess." He looked away immediately. "I shouldn't have said that." "No," her voice cracked. "You shouldn't have." A heavy silence followed. Rain clouds gathered overhead, dimming the afternoon light. "I love my sister," Maya whispered. "I know. I would never hurt her." "I know." "Then please." She looked directly into his eyes for the first time. "Don't make me choose." Ashley returned just then, smiling as she handed them each a cup of lemonade. Neither of them noticed the tears Maya blinked away before turning her face toward the darkening sky. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. He replayed Maya's words over and over. "Don't make me choose." The painful truth finally settled in. She had already chosen. She had chosen her sister, even if it meant losing the person who understood her better than anyone else. But Ethan wasn't sure he could keep pretending anymore, and somewhere deep inside him, a terrifying question began to form. If staying with Ashley meant living a lie, was ending the relationship the kindest thing he could do? Or was it already far too late? For the next 2 weeks, Maya kept her promise to herself. She stopped replying to Ethan's messages. Not because she was angry, because every conversation felt like another thread pulling her toward a life she refused to imagine. At exactly 9 o'clock each night, her phone would light up. Sometimes it was a simple, "Hope you're okay." Sometimes, "I read a book today that reminded me of you." Other nights, there was no message at all. Oddly enough, those nights hurt the most. She missed her best friend, but missing him came with a guilt so heavy she barely recognized herself anymore. Ashley noticed the change before anyone else. One Sunday afternoon, she found Maya sitting on the back porch with a sketchbook balanced on her knees. The page was blank. "You've been quiet lately," Ashley said as she settled into the chair beside her. Maya forced a smile. "I'm always quiet." Ashley laughed softly. "Not like this." A warm breeze stirred the flowers along the fence. Somewhere nearby, children chased each other through a sprinkler, their laughter floating over the neighborhood. Ashley leaned back and sighed. "I think Ethan's pulling away." Maya's stomach dropped. "What makes you say that?" "I don't know." Ashley looked down at her hands. "He's still kind. He still shows up, but it feels like he's somewhere else." She hesitated before continuing. "You know when someone smiles at you, but their eyes don't?" Maya nodded silently. "I've been seeing that smile a lot lately." For a long moment, neither sister spoke. Then Ashley chuckled, trying to lighten the mood. "Maybe I'm just overthinking." Maya wished she could believe that. Across town, Ethan sat alone in his apartment, staring at an old photo of himself and Ashley from their first vacation together. They looked happy, because they had been. He smiled sadly. People always assumed love ended because someone stopped caring. Sometimes, love ended because two good people slowly became strangers. Ashley hadn't changed overnight. Neither had he. Their lives had simply begun moving in different directions. She dreamed about promotions, networking events, and a future planned years in advance. He wanted a quieter life. Weekend hikes, bookstores, spontaneous road trips, evenings spent talking instead of scrolling through phones. They still loved each other, but they no longer understood each other. And every time he spoke with Maya online, he was reminded of the conversations he no longer had with Ashley. That realization terrified him. 3 days later, Ashley surprised him with dinner at the little Italian restaurant where they'd had their first date. Candles flickered gently between them. Soft piano music drifted through the room. Ashley reached across the table and squeezed his hand. "You've seemed stressed." "I'm okay." She smiled. "You don't have to pretend with me." He looked into her hopeful eyes. The guilt was suffocating. Ashley pulled a small envelope from her purse. "I wasn't going to show you yet." She laughed nervously. "But I got excited." Ethan frowned. "What is it?" She slid the envelope across the table. Inside were brochures for apartments, not expensive ones, just cozy places. 1-bedroom apartments with bright kitchens and tiny balconies. Ashley smiled shyly. "I thought—" She paused, suddenly embarrassed. "I thought maybe next year we could move in together." Ethan felt every ounce of color drain from his face. Ashley misread his silence. "I know it's soon." She laughed awkwardly. "We don't have to decide now." But she already knew. She saw it, the hesitation, the fear, the distance, and for the first time since they had started dating, Ashley realized she wasn't imagining things. That evening, Ethan walked for nearly an hour before finding himself outside the quiet little park where he often cleared his head. Without thinking, he opened the messaging app. "Can I ask you something?" Several minutes passed. Then Maya replied, "You shouldn't be talking to me." "Probably not." "Then why are you?" He looked up at the stars before answering. "Because you're the only person who tells me the truth." Her response came almost immediately. "Then here's the truth. You already know what you have to do." He stared at the message. She was right. She always seemed to be. "I'm scared." "So is Ashley." "What do you mean?" "She thinks she's losing you." His chest tightened. "She told you?" "She didn't have to." There was another long silence. Finally, Maya typed the hardest words she'd ever written. "If you care about my sister, don't wait until she starts planning forever with someone who's already halfway gone." Ethan read the message again and again. His vision blurred because he knew there was no arguing with it. The following Friday, Ashley came home carrying 2 movie tickets. She practically skipped into the living room. "Maya!" Maya looked up from her book. "Guess what?" "What?" "Ethan asked if we could meet tomorrow evening." "That's nice." Ashley smiled brightly. "I think he's finally going to say it." Maya's heart skipped. "Say what?" Ashley blushed. "I think he's going to tell me he loves me." Maya's smile froze. Ashley hugged the movie tickets against her chest. "I know he already says it sometimes." She laughed. "But this feels different." "What do you mean?" "I don't know." Her eyes sparkled. I just have this feeling tomorrow is going to change everything. Maya felt tears sting her eyes. Tomorrow would change everything, just not the way Ashley imagined. The next evening arrived with heavy gray clouds hanging low over the city. Ashley spent almost an hour getting ready. She changed outfits 3 times, curled her hair, then uncurling it because Ethan liked it natural. She stood in Maya's doorway holding 2 pairs of earrings. Which one? Maya looked up. The silver pair had tiny stars. The gold pair were simple circles. The stars, Maya whispered. Ashley smiled. I knew you'd pick those. She clipped them into place before walking over and hugging her little sister. When I get back, she whispered excitedly, I might have the biggest news ever. Maya hugged her tightly, longer than usual. Ashley laughed. I'll only be gone a few hours. I know. But Maya couldn't shake the feeling that this hug was the last moment before their lives split into a before and an after. She watched Ashley leave through the front door. Then she stood at the window, silently praying. Not that Ethan would stay, not that he would choose her. Only that whatever happened, Ashley's heart would survive it. At exactly 7:18 p.m., Ethan arrived at the restaurant. Ashley greeted him with the brightest smile he'd ever seen. It nearly broke him before he even sat down. As they ordered dinner, she chatted happily about work, about a funny video Maya had shown her, about their parents' upcoming anniversary. Ethan listened. He laughed in the right places, but his hands remained clasped so tightly beneath the table that his knuckles turned white. Finally, after the waiter cleared their plates, Ashley reached across the table. Ethan. She smiled softly. You've been trying to tell me something for weeks. His heart pounded. He looked at the woman who had loved him with complete sincerity, a woman who had done nothing wrong. He realized there would never be a painless way to say the words, so he took a slow, shaky breath, opened his mouth, and everything changed. Ashley knew what he was going to say before the words ever left his mouth. Sometimes, love gives you that cruel gift. You notice the delayed replies, the distracted smiles, the way someone's eyes drift somewhere else when you're talking. You spend weeks convincing yourself you're imagining it. Then, one day, the truth finally speaks, and it sounds exactly the way you feared it would. Ethan lowered his eyes. I don't think I can keep doing this. For a few seconds, Ashley didn't react. She simply stared at him, waiting for the rest of the sentence. I've been trying to fix what I'm feeling, he continued quietly. I've told myself it's just stress, that it'll pass, but it hasn't. Ashley swallowed hard. So, her voice trembled. You don't love me anymore. Ethan's eyes filled with tears. I'll always care about you. She gave a sad little laugh. I didn't ask if you cared. Silence. The answer was all over his face. Ashley slowly nodded. I understand. But she didn't. Not really. Not yet. She had imagined arguments. She had imagined another woman. She had imagined betrayal. She had never imagined someone simply falling out of love. That somehow hurt even more. When Ashley walked through the front door later that night, Maya was sitting on the couch pretending to read. The sound of the door closing made her look up. Ashley smiled. It was a strange smile. Too calm. Too empty. Hey, Maya stood immediately. How was dinner? Ashley set her purse down carefully. He broke up with me. The room became impossibly quiet. Maya felt the words hit her like a physical blow. Ashley let out a shaky laugh. I actually thought he was going to ask me to move in with him. Her voice cracked. I even picked out earrings. Maya rushed toward her. Ashley collapsed into her arms before she could say another word. For the next several minutes, she cried harder than Maya had ever seen. Not loud, not dramatic. Just quiet, broken sobs that soaked into Maya's shoulder. I wasn't enough, Ashley whispered. You were. Then why wasn't I enough? Maya had no answer. She only held her sister tighter and silently hated herself. The next morning, Ethan woke to more than 30 unread messages. Most were from mutual friends. A few were from Ashley's coworkers. One simply read, What did you do? Someone had posted a photo of Ashley sitting alone outside the restaurant after he'd left. Her mascara was smeared. She looked devastated. People filled in the blanks themselves. Some assumed he'd cheated. Others assumed he'd left her for someone else. Within hours, the story had spread through their entire social circle. His phone rang. It was his best friend, Daniel. Ethan, tell me this isn't true. It depends on what you've heard. That you dumped Ashley out of nowhere. Ethan rubbed his forehead. I didn't do it out of nowhere. Then why? Ethan hesitated. I wasn't in love anymore. Daniel sighed. I hate to say this, but that's still better than pretending for another 5 years. Days passed. Ashley stopped playing music while getting ready in the mornings. She stopped singing while cooking. She stopped making plans for weekends. Even the house felt quieter. One evening, Maya found her sitting on the bedroom floor surrounded by photographs, vacation pictures, birthday pictures, selfies, movie tickets tucked inside old greeting cards. Ashley smiled sadly as she picked up one photograph. I kept everything. She looked up at Maya. Do you think people can just stop loving someone overnight? Maya sat beside her. No. Then when did it happen? I don't know. Ashley traced the edge of the picture with her thumb. I keep replaying every conversation, looking for the moment I lost him. Maya reached for her hand. You didn't lose him because of one moment. Ashley wiped away another tear. Then why does it feel like I failed? That night, Maya couldn't bear the guilt any longer. At exactly 9 o'clock, she opened her messages. There was one unread text. How is she? She stared at it for a long time before replying. Broken. Several minutes passed. I never wanted that. I know. Does she hate me? No. She blames herself. The typing bubble appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally. That makes this even worse. Maya's fingers tightened around her phone. Promise me something. Anything. Don't message me anymore. His heart seemed to stop. Why? Because every time I hear from you, she paused, tears slipping onto the screen. I feel like I'm betraying the person who's sleeping in the next room. She pressed send before she could change her mind. This time, there was no reply. The weeks that followed were the hardest either of them had ever lived. Ashley slowly tried to rebuild her routine. She returned to work. She smiled when people asked if she was okay. She insisted she was doing better. But Maya noticed the little things. Ashley no longer bought Ethan's favorite coffee by accident. She no longer checked her phone every evening. She deleted his birthday reminder, then immediately cried because deleting it felt too permanent. Maya wished she could take away even a fraction of her sister's pain. Instead, she carried a different kind of pain, the kind no one could see. Nearly a month after the breakup, Ashley knocked gently on Maya's bedroom door. Can I come in? Of course. Ashley sat on the edge of the bed. I've been thinking. About what? I think I'm finally ready to delete all our messages. Maya nodded. I think that's a big step. Ashley smiled faintly. I realized something. What? I've spent weeks asking why he stopped loving me. She looked out the window. But maybe that's the wrong question. Maya listened quietly. The better question is, she took a deep breath. Why would I want someone to stay if his heart was already somewhere else? Maya felt her throat tighten. Ashley wasn't angry anymore. She was beginning to accept the truth, but neither sister knew the hardest truth still hadn't been revealed. 2 days later, Ethan was helping his mother clean out boxes in the attic when she handed him an old notebook. Inside were pages of handwritten quotes he'd copied as a teenager. One sentence caught his attention immediately. The cruelest lie isn't pretending to love someone. It's pretending not to love the person who changed your life. He closed the notebook. For weeks, he had obeyed Maya's request. He hadn't messaged her, hadn't called, hadn't tried to see her. He told himself it was the right thing to do, but every day without her felt heavier than the last. And for the first time, he admitted something to himself that he'd been too afraid to name. He wasn't simply missing his best friend. He was in love with her. The realization terrified him, not because it wasn't true, but because he knew exactly whose heart it could shatter. And somewhere across town, fate was already preparing to expose the secret neither of them had dared speak aloud.